When Nora and her brother Caleb drove into the small Oregon town of Grayridge, it felt like a place that time had completely lost interest in. The trees leaned in way too close to the road, almost like they were whispering secrets to each other. The air had this faint, metallic smell, like iron, and every single house they passed looked like it was waiting for someone who was never, ever coming home. It was just unsettling. Their destination was their late aunt's estate, the entire reason for this strange trip. It stood at the very end of Hollow Bend Road, a crooked old Victorian house with windows that looked like blind eyes staring out into nothing. The lawyer had been clear. The house was theirs, free and clear. All they had to do was show up in person to claim it. Nora hadn't seen her aunt since she was a little girl, maybe 7 years old. She mostly remembered whispers and rumors, that her aunt was eccentric, that she used to talk to the walls. But honestly, money was money, and Nora desperately needed this inheritance to keep her art studio from going under. As they walked up the overgrown path, the front door just creaked open on its own. Before Caleb could even reach out and touch the knob, the smell hit them first, a thick wave of old wood, dust, and something else. Something faint but sharp, like rainwater hitting hot metal. The inside was a chaotic maze of furniture draped in white sheets, like ghosts frozen in time, and boxers piled high, all labeled in their aunt's spidery, narrow handwriting. Scrawled across them were phrases like, "Keep out, not yet," and my personal favorite, "Listen closely." Nora let out a nervous laugh, trying to brush it off as one of her aunt's weird jokes. Caleb, ever the skeptic, just muttered under his breath, "Yeah, she probably went completely crazy in here." They decided to split up and explore. The house seemed to groan with every single step they took, the floorboards feeling as thin and fragile as old paper. It was the kind of place where every sound made you jump. Nora found herself in the attic, a space choked with dust and forgotten things. In the center, facing the only window, was a large, ornate mirror, and etched onto the glass, in faint smeared letters, was a message. "Don't answer when IT calls." Nora ran her fingers over the dry, old writing. An old wives' tale. Another one of her aunt's quirks. She just shrugged it off and went back downstairs. But as dusk began to fall, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange, the house itself seemed to change shape. The wind outside, which had been howling all day, just stopped. The silence that followed was heavy, pressing against the windows like a living thing, suffocating the world outside. Nora tried to distract herself, sitting by the cold fireplace, sketching in her notebook while Caleb slept upstairs, completely oblivious. And then she heard it. It wasn't a creak from the old house this time. It was a whisper, as clear and as close as if someone was leaning right behind her ear. It said, "You shouldn't have come." Her blood ran cold. She froze, heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She turned around, slowly, expecting to see someone standing there, but there was no one. The room was empty, filled only with shadows and sheet-covered furniture. Shaking, she looked back down at her sketchpad, and that's when she saw it. A new figure had been drawn in the charcoal, a figure she hadn't made. It was a tall, dark shape standing directly behind the chair. She was sitting in on the page with a long, spindly hand, reaching out, almost touching her shoulder. The next morning, Nora tried to explain what happened to Caleb. He of course didn't buy a word of it. He said she was just overtired, her imagination running wild in a creepy old house. "It was a dream, Nora, or you're just letting this place get to you." He pointed to her sketchpad. "You probably drew that yourself and don't even remember." But Nora knew. She knew it wasn't a dream. The fear felt too real, the voice too clear, the drawing, it was too precise, too malevolent. They decided to focus on the task at hand, sorting through their aunt's belongings. In the study, buried under a mountain of old books on folklore and local history, they found her journals. Page after page was filled with her frantic handwriting. She wrote about the house being a vessel, a gateway. She described a presence she called the echo, a thing that lived in the silence and fed on memory and fear. It could mimic voices, she wrote. It could twist your thoughts, make you see things that weren't there. Her final entry was terrifying. It read, "It knows I'm leaving. It's angry, it wants someone new. It will call to them, and if they answer, it will never let them go." A chill snaked down Nora's spine. "Don't answer when IT calls." The message on the mirror, it all clicked into place. This wasn't a joke. This was a warning. That evening, the house grew quiet again. Nora and Caleb were in the kitchen, making a half-hearted attempt at dinner. When they heard it, a soft, gentle tapping coming from upstairs. Tap, tap, tap. It sounded like it was coming from their aunt's old bedroom. Caleb looked at Nora, a flicker of unease finally showing in his eyes. "Probably just the pipes," he said, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. But then, a voice called down to them. It was their mother's voice, as clear as day. "Caleb, Nora, are you down there?" Their mother had passed away 5 years ago. They both froze, plates clattering on the counter. Caleb's face went pale. "Mom," he whispered, his skepticism completely shattered. The voice called again, sweeter this time, more insistent. "Come on up, kids. I've missed you." Nora grabbed Caleb's arm, her nails digging into his skin. "Don't," she hissed, her eyes wide with terror. "Caleb, don't answer. It's the echo. It's what she warned us about." But the voice was so convincing, so full of warmth and love. It was the voice that had tucked them in at night, the voice that had comforted them their whole lives. Caleb was torn, his heart warring with his head. He took a step towards the staircase. But, what if it's really her? Nora shook her head frantically. It's not, it's a trap. From upstairs, the voice changed. It was her father this time. Nora, honey, listen to your brother. We're waiting for you. Every instinct in Nora's body screamed at her to run, to drag Caleb out of that house and never look back. The whispers started again, not from upstairs, but from all around them, weaving through the air. They were the voices of old friends, childhood pets, distant relatives, a chorus of the past, all calling their names, begging them to come closer, to join them. The house wasn't just haunted, it was hungry, and it had just found its new favorite meal. The question wasn't whether they could survive the night, but whether they could escape the house with their own memories, their own sanity, still intact. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another one of our spooky tales. We'll see you in the next video.